Please, guys, MMA content creators, we got to rally around on this one. We got to rally around on this one. If you're an MMA content creator, we got to support this message. Volkanovski and Evloev needs to happen. The Evloev-Pico fight makes it so much more likely that we get Volk in a nightmare matchup next.
What's up, guys? You are watching Fight Feed, and I just had to respond to Mr. Lucas. He made a video talking about those matchups, as you guys saw at the beginning of this, and calling out for content creators to kind of band together, pull this up, and root for this fight. Now, I'm making this video because for any of you who've been watching, you already know my take on all of this. You know what I've said. You probably have seen my video where I actually showed a picture of Movsar and a picture of my 14-year-old self where we had the same exact haircut. I've been gunning for Movsar to get this title shot. I think that there's a lot of ways that we could boil this down and break it down. I feel like Movsar, even if you're not a fan of Movsar, giving him the title shot is like we're hitting a few things, right? We're getting it out of the way, right? If you're not a fan of Movsar, it's like, let's just get this guy his title shot and get it out of the way. If he should win, great. Now he's got to defend that belt against some tough matchups, which could make for really good fights. And if you are a fan of Movsar, then you should want him to get this title shot because he is deserving of it. And so I'm just making a video with my small little voice here on this side of the channel, trying to just give you guys some more reasons if I can, but also show support for the matchmaking that Lucas pulled together in that recent video that he made about Volk. So let's go ahead and dive into what Lucas was talking about specifically. And I actually wanted to just show support for a few things and a few points that he made that I 1000% agree with. So taking a look at what Lucas had said in his video, basically he had called out the fact that Movsar is obviously the deserving contender, that the UFC's got to scrap this whole idea of Movsar versus Aaron Pico. 1000% agree with that. I have seen the highlights, guys. I've seen Aaron Pico drop a few guys from Bellator and completely, ragdoll a few guys. He's got some great striking, and obviously his wrestling credentials also will pose a lot of issues for offensive grapplers like a matchup against a Movsar Evloev. However, I don't think that Aaron Pico should be coming into the UFC and getting a crack at that #1 contender fight off the rip. Like, this guy could fight anybody else. He could fight Pitbull, for instance, do a fucking Bellator matchup in the UFC. Or he could fight, you know what? He should fight Lerone Murphy. He could fight Josh Emmett. There's like all these great matchups that you could give him that are not taking these #1 contender fighters like Movsar, who's already proven himself time and time again. Now, Movsar is not the most exciting fighter. We all know that, at least in my opinion. I think that he is exciting in the sense that he always goes out there and he does try to scrap the best he can. I know that sometimes like the ground shit's really annoying. And I also didn't like the Arnold Allen look when he did the fucking like hand to the ground thing. I hate that. But I think the fact that Movsar has gone in there against Diego Lopez, he's gone in there against Arnold Allen, he's gone in there and beat like Dan Ige, like he's beat all these really good guys in the featherweight division, and he's undefeated. He just give him that title shot, okay? Pico can go up against any of those other guys that I had named. And then, we can see where Pico shakes out after that. And maybe, if you want to get him into the title picture a lot faster, which the UFC is great at getting random guys into that title picture, then do that. But this is the one point I really love from Lucas that I totally agree with, and I have to make a video on it. You have some of the easiest matchmaking here. If you really think about the Madison Square Garden card that's bound to happen in November. I believe it's been booked in November every year, and I don't know if they have a contract, but there's clearly something that happens every November. We always see the UFC going to Madison Square Garden, and this has been happening since like 2021. I'm pretty sure that is when... No, not even 2021. I mean, this happened in 2019. It was November 2nd, 2019. We had Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz for the first iteration of the BMF championship, which ended in like a round 2 doctor stoppage or some shit because Nate's fucking eye bled. Maybe it was round 1. I don't even remember. But where I'm headed with this, Lucas called this out. You could have JDM versus Islam in the main event, Madison Square Garden. That is like just that fight alone, guys, is probably one of the biggest cards of the year because of that fight alone. It's carried by that fight. But what a perfect chance to do a co-main where you have an Aussie champ defending against, yes, a Russian-born contender. Like that is, I gotta say, Lucas, that's very good, my friend. I love it. That's like some of the best matchmaking you can have, and the promotion behind it. It's like Australia, like in the co-main and main, you've got a war between countries, right? You've got the Aussies defending their gold against the Russians. Can the Russians take it, right? You could do all kinds of crazy promos with that. So I love that idea. I think, like I said, it's a win-win for us as fans because I do think putting Volk, and this is something I've said in my previous videos on this, and Lucas said today, or when he posted his video, I watched it today, but he called out the fact that it's a fun matchup when you put Volk against Movsar because the odds of that being finished, especially in an early round, it's not very likely whatsoever. But in addition to that, you give Volk the best chance at getting another title defense. If we are true fans of Volk, this is favorable matchup, in my opinion. I don't know for sure if Volk will get the win. I have really high hopes that he would, though. Like, and what I've said in my previous videos, I would love to see this matchup because I feel like it is a winnable matchup for Volk. I think Volk would give Movsar a lot more issues than Movsar would give Volk. Now, you don't go this route and you put another guy in there like a Gene Silva. I worry for Volk because, like, even though Volk went out there and proved us all wrong, or most of us wrong anyways, when he beat Diego Lopez, I think whenever you give Volk a super power punching type fighter, you're just, it's not in his favor because of his age, because of some of the damage he's taken in these previous fights. I do worry about that. And I don't want to see Volk go out that way, guys. I would rather see Volk go out there, defend against Movsar, and ride off in the sunset. Or Volk goes out there, has a great scrap. Maybe he loses, but like I would rather see him go out on a 5-round competitive fight than it be Volk just gets, knocked off the horse, knocked out, and left for dead. You know what I mean? I don't want to see that happen. So I feel like this is the best matchmaking. And then on top of that, it pairs perfectly with the main event being JDM and Islam. Now, I don't know if JDM and Islam is even happening in November. I would like to think that it is. If you read between the lines of some of the interviews that are happening, especially with Islam's manager, he had said in an interview that this fight has to happen on a big American pay-per-view card because of the fact that the American fan base is just going to buy more pay-per-views. There's going to be more eyes, right? So when you consider that, there's only really 2 options there in terms of what we have in the remainder of this year. It's Madison Square Garden or that final Vegas pay-per-view that closes out the show for the year in December. So it could happen then, but I likely think you have it happening in November. And so this is a perfect setup for a banger card. Now, you could even go the route, though, of even if you weren't to put all these guys on the same card, you could then put Volk versus Movsar as a headline event in December and pair that with Josh Van versus Alexandre Pantoja as the main event or co-main. I think that the featherweight scrap would probably get the main event. So long-winded, guys, but I have to say I fully agree with what Lucas had pulled together. It makes a lot of sense to me. I've already kind of been singing my praises for not only giving Volk this matchup, but giving that matchup to Movsar because I feel like he's earned it at this point. And because I feel like when you put Movsar in there with some of these other guys, I'm not a fan really of Movsar. I've become more of a fan because I feel like he's just continuously taking these matchups when he shouldn't have to, but he continues to do so. But I feel like Movsar against Pigo, Movsar against some of these other, dangerous strikers, you have the potential of his wrestling and his game just completely nullifying that aspect of their game. Whereas with Volk, I feel like he is so well-rounded and not only is he well-rounded, but he's got that low center of gravity. I feel like it's so hard. It would be very hard to get Volk down and hold him there. And that is where I feel like this is a great matchup for both guys. Because if Movsar goes out there and is able to still find a way to beat Volk, he truly is deserving of that championship. But if Volk goes out there and is able to defend, he's just continuing to cement that legacy that he's already building on, being a second-time featherweight champion. So that is my thoughts, guys. What do you guys think about this? Did you feel like Lucas made some good points? Do you agree with this? I would love to hear your guys' point of view. Make sure to give this video a like if you enjoy, and please subscribe to Fight Feed so you can stay on top of all the new content that I'll be posting. Appreciate it, guys.